If you want to stop being so triggered, so reactive, and getting so defensive, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Orr. I've coached almost 500 guys to have more energy, more presence, and live as better husbands, fathers, and feel aligned with their highest purpose. Right, and one of the ways that we do this is through being present with ourselves, with our partners, with our kids. The problem with that is a lot of men are very reactive in life, and I used to be as well. I used to be downing 10 shots of coffee a day. I was always triggered and took things personally and got very defensive. Whenever my partner would say something, I would have to justify my actions. I had the bandwidth and the patience of an absolute bee's appendage. And it was exhausting, first and foremost for me, right? It's exhausting always being at that simmering level of stress and then flying off the handle and then feeling guilty, feeling shame, feeling just shit. Like you've completely overreacted for absolutely no logical, justified reason. But we'll still try and find ways to justify it, right? Well, I had this kind of a day, I was tired, I was already stressed, and then, but you did this, and if you didn't do that, and all the things come out. A way that's really helped me to think about stress is because when most people think about, not stress, triggers, because reactivity or being reactive often comes as on the back end of being triggered by something. Here's how I want you to think about a trigger. Most people think about addressing a trigger and trying to take away the stimulus in the way that, well, when my wife says this, it triggers me. So if she just wouldn't say that, then I wouldn't get triggered. If I didn't have to ask my kids 10 times to pick up their stuff and do as I say, then I wouldn't get triggered. So it's their fault for not listening. Or any other external or personal, circumstance which gives our power away, right? We've given our emotional control and our regulation over to this person or to this thing and basically said, I do not have the capacity to control and regulate myself and to restrain myself despite my emotions. So I'm going to ask you to change because I don't have the power to change. Doesn't feel very empowering now, does it? Feels pretty weak. And so we want to take that power back. And so think of a trigger like a gun. Instead of taking away the trigger, the circumstance, the event, the main element that is required for this to become an explosion, for this trigger to be set off, is the ammunition, is like the ammo in the chamber. Because if there's no ammo in the chamber, it doesn't matter how many times you pull the trigger, nothing will happen. Because there's nothing to explode. There's no gunpowder there. There's nothing to be set off. And so instead of trying to remove the trigger, walking around on eggshells, trying to avoid conflict, trying to people please, trying to do all these things so that we don't get triggered, we remove the trigger. Then we have the power. Then we are in control. Because the thing that was setting us off no longer sets us off. And I want to break this episode down into a couple of segments, because we'll have the physical component and then we'll have the mental component. We'll get into the physical component later because that's a pretty easy one. But the mental component, when we get triggered, there is often a truth to what has set us off. There is an element of truth and an element or in lacking of ownership of what has been said. Because if we wholeheartedly agree and we know and we've owned the thing that is triggering us, then it wouldn't set us off. It wouldn't cause a reaction because it's like, yeah, I know. I would often use a blue hair example here, right? When someone means intends to insult. But I'll give you a more maybe relatable example of when maybe your partner, you have forgotten to take the trash out, and your partner says, "Oh, you're so forgetful. I may as well do it myself." Whatever offhanded comment comes off, and you just feel your insides tensing up. You feel that irritation, you feel that frustration, because what she has, the labels or the phrases or the things that she has just described you as, go against your self-belief. They go against who you believe you are as a person and the standards that you uphold. Because maybe you think of yourself as someone with pretty good memory, someone who has integrity, who does what they say they'll do. And she's just called you out and found proof that those things are not always true. Now that's where a lot of guys get triggered, because their view of reality and who they believe they are has just been proven to not be true, or not as true as they would like it to be. And so this comes into the ownership piece. Ownership of knowing that, or owning, acknowledging that I am everything and nothing all at the same time. Yes, I value time, I value organization, I value health, I value these things, but I can guarantee that you can find times where my actions haven't shown that. In the same way that you can find times in your history where you've been a narcissist, where you've been aggressive, where you've been a manipulator, where you've been unorganized, where you've been late, where you've been, insert whatever the trigger word is for you, right? Whatever the trait that you hold so high as your standard and who you are. There will be times where that has not been true. And especially as nice guys, we like to hide that. We like to pretend that that doesn't exist. Oh yeah, but it was this one time and it wouldn't have happened if, someone, and we go into story. We go into this narrative that we tell ourselves about how it was somebody else's fault. It wasn't my doing, it wasn't my fault, to make ourselves feel better. It's just story. Because we're not willing to own that. And that's why it triggers us, because we haven't fully owned it. Another element of being triggered is an element of control. Especially with kids and their tantrums, or even our partner. We get triggered in times where things don't go to plan. They haven't done what we've wanted them to do. And a lot of men will get angry, get frustrated, right? But when we look at anger is often a mask of an emotion. It's a mask for fear. It's a mask for uncertainty, and it's a mask in an attempt to regain control. Because when we feel fear, we feel weak, we feel powerless, or we feel like we have less power than we desire, and we feel like a victim. When we feel anger, we are filled with rage, with aggression, with testosterone, with adrenaline, with all this energy that is more conducive to feeling like a threat. Is feeling like we have power, feeling like we have control. And so that's a much more desirable feeling compared to weak and powerless. So because we don't have control, we assume anger in an attempt to regain control and get what we want. It's like essentially trying to use that to manipulate or just physically or brute force getting what we want. Scaring someone into getting back into line. But I promise you, sure, that might work sometimes, short term. But that is not a long-term strategy to creating relationships with your kids, with your wife, with anybody that is grounded on respect, is grounded on trust, is built on safety, especially our kids. If you are reactive, they will start to learn that dad is not a safe space. I cannot tell dad what I truly think or what I truly feel, because he'll get angry and then it lands in a fight, and I don't want to have a fight. So I'm going to be selective as to what I share with dad. And it's the same with your partner. If you react and blow off, go off the deep end when she shares something with you, when she tries to express something to you, or when there's a situation, subconsciously she will learn, don't be that vulnerable, don't be that honest, don't share that much, because of that reaction. And then that limits how deep she can be with you, how honest she can be with you. And then eventually you stack that up over multiple occurrences, multiple years, and then we end up with a surface level situation or surface level marriage that has no depth to it, because the deeper we go, the more volatile it is. And when she knows that we react that way, just a quick announcement, guys. If you are a high-performing father or a successful business owner who's built the life you said you always wanted, and even a life most men would envy, but deep down you feel like something's off. Your drive and fire is just your marriage just feels stale, your energy's just not what it used to be, or maybe you're still stuck in the nice guy syndrome, but you're ready to lead with real presence and confidence again. Well, that's exactly what I help men like you to do. So if you're ready to take action and want to know if my coaching is right for you, either scroll down to the show notes or go to my Instagram page, The Elite Father, and click on the link tree to apply. You've built a business success. Now let's build success where it really matters. Now, back to the show. Well, she knows, oh shit, he can't handle me when I'm like that, so he doesn't get it. And so when you're thinking about these situations, you're thinking about these reframes and these triggers, another way that I want you to think about, before I go into what you can actually do about this to work on this, like, first of all, I hope the ownership piece has kind of rung true. Like, we need to look at what you're not owning. Where is it true? Like, the thing that just set you off, instead of justifying it, instead of defending it, instead of deflecting it, where is it true? Where is that true? Because it wouldn't be true if you weren't triggered by it. And what does it say about you if it is? Now, that's a much deeper question, but what does it say about you if that is true? That starts to hit on the identity piece. That starts to impact our vision of the world as to who we are, and starts to shift that. Another way to think about these things that set us off and trigger us are opportunities. Because think about the man that you want to be. I assume by listening to this podcast, you're someone that wants to be an embodied, grounded, masculine man that wants to be successful in all areas of his life, not just financially in business, but in his marriage, his personal life, and as a father as well. And he wants to live up to his highest potential. He wants to die not having left any potential on the table. And so think about that man, that version of you. And what traits does he have? Does he have calm under pressure? Does he have a stoic presence? Is he decisive? Is he action-oriented? Is he able to be calm under pressure? Is he able to be articulate, calm, and grounded, and have hard conversations, even when it's not comfortable? Is he able to be honest, even when it hurts? Think about all the traits that he has. Now think about what it would take to earn those traits. Because the traits that we earn come through experience. We don't just wake up one morning and, we're confident, or I'm strong, or I'm resilient, or I'm, whatever your trait is. We have opportunities in life to earn those traits. And through the repetition of that, it starts to become embodied. It becomes who we are. If every time you're faced with a decision to run or fight, and every time you pick run, that starts to become who you are, part of your identity, part of your self-belief. And so if it comes time, if you actually are forced into fighting, you will have no confidence in doing so, because it's not who you are. It's not the path that you've taken. But if you want to become a fighter, if you want to be a weapon, if you want to be dangerous, if you want to be a threat, to be able to protect yourself, to be able to protect your family, then we need to pick that path. We need to get in the ring. And so getting in the ring is then an opportunity to learn how to fight, to harness that ability as a fighter, as a weapon, as a protecting threat. And so now that you've got the traits of the man that you want to be, you've got how or what it would take to earn those traits. Think about all the things that trigger you, all the situations that trigger you, whether it's your kids' tantrums, a situation with your wife, one of your clients or people at work, or whatever it is. See if you can make that connection of what is this an opportunity for me to practice? Is this an opportunity for me to practice patience and calm? Is this an opportunity for me to practice presence when my wife is being emotional and chaotic, to show that I can handle those emotions, that I can handle her truth, that I can handle whatever she has to throw at me without getting reactive? An opportunity to prove that you are trustworthy and that you can handle the depth and the amazing feminine energy that she has to offer you. And so when we start to see these situations as opportunities rather than inconveniences or, why me, poor me kind of scenarios, we get to use them as learning opportunities to build our character. And now I'm not saying you're going to ever look forward to being triggered, but the trigger is the teacher. Every time you get triggered, there's, cool. There's something I haven't owned yet. There's an opportunity or a trait that I haven't fully embodied yet. Because if I had, then I wouldn't be triggered by it. So lean into that. A weak man will be triggered by something and blame everybody else. A powerful man, a grounded, sovereign man, will feel the trigger and say thank you. And not from a smug arrogance, but from a genuine thank you for highlighting where I can be better. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, that there's something that I haven't truly embodied, I haven't truly owned. I can now set off to do that, to strengthen myself, to be better. So think who you'd like to become. And now for some of they're the frames mentally of how we can view these things. So they're no longer this hindrance, they're no longer this negative, it's an opportunity. From a physical standpoint, here's some things to look at. What's your sleep like? Right, I'll go to the biology of this. Looking at the patterns of when you get the most triggered. I know for me personally, when I get the most triggered, triggered is not the best word. Reactive, right? I get very erratic and react very quickly. Is when I have had poor sleep, I have been highly stressed, I've spent too much time on my screens, and I am over caffeinated. Right. I can also go into I'm not on purpose, I'm not aligned, and other deeper things like that, but they're the main ones. So pretty easy self-diagnosis. For me, as much of this is about working on myself, it's also making sure that I'm in an environment and a situation that is conducive to making those decisions. Even if I have all those reframes and all the tools, if I'm tired, stressed, over caffeinated, dopamine addicted, then it's going to be very hard. One of the greatest things that you can ever do, which will help you to make the fastest progress in anything, is to stop doing the things that are making you worse. If you're trying to lose fat, before you even step foot in the gym, stop eating so much food, stop eating so much shit, stop drinking so much alcohol. You will instantly lose some weight because you've cut out what's making it worse, and what will inevitably make it harder for you to make progress, even with the introduction of the new healthy habits. Yeah? So look after your sleep, right? If you can scroll through my other episodes, I'm sure I've done one on how to get the best sleep of your life. That will go into detail, the routines and all the stuff for sleep optimization into that space. The nervous system, right? Resetting the nervous system, and this will tie into sleep as well, but your circadian rhythm, so getting time outside, time in the sun, breathing properly, the simple act of learning how to breathe will massively change your state 24/7. If you're a mouth breather, if you breathe short and shallow into your chest, I can promise you, you are always in a fight or flight mode. You will be getting shit sleep. You will probably have symptoms, most likely have symptoms of ADHD because your brain's not getting enough oxygen, you're not getting enough deep sleep, so you're just struggling with focus because you're so tired. Your body will not recover well, your digestion will not be optimal, your hormone production will not be optimal, your focus and your brain power and your decision-making power will not be optimal because of this lack of oxygen, this lack of sleep, and all this deprivation. So your ability to rewire your brain to not be so triggered to actually handle these things will be massively impaired. So we get the sleep. We look after our nervous system by those practices, learning how to breathe properly. Ideally, we should be breathing through our nose, breathing back down into our diaphragm, expanding it out. Long, slow, deep breaths. If you want a quick hack for this, to reset yourself, simple box breathing is super efficient. 4 seconds in, through the nose, of course. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. And then repeat. If the 4 seconds feels like a struggle, drop it to 3, drop it to 2 if you need to. And then slowly build your way up. Go even higher than 4 if you can. That will help to calm your nervous system. If you want to keep going down, that will get you to baseline, to even. If you want to really engage your parasympathetic nervous system, so your rest and digest state or your calm state, make your exhales longer than your inhales. So we breathe in for 4, and we breathe out for 6. And you do that as often as possible, and will keep you in that calm, grounded state. So when things come up, you can look at them and decide how you want to respond. Because essentially when we get triggered, it's our brain, because when you get triggered, right, it's a almost immediate reaction. It's not like you consciously think how you respond. It's you often feel that emotion coming up and that trigger happening before you've even thought of anything. Because in the past, there's been a similar situation, a similar stimulus, whether it was a word or a scenario or a person, that caused that response, caused that stimuli. We generated that response, that fight or flight response, whether it was the word, the defensiveness, the shutdown, the fight or flight, whatever it was, and it kept us alive, right? We're still here, so we didn't die. That's that part of the brain's job, right? Its job is to keep us alive. It's not here to keep us happy, not here to keep us present. It's here to keep us alive. So anything that we do that keeps us alive, it will note as a success and document as awesome. Let's do that again next time because we want to stay alive. So every time we're in that fight or flight response, we react from that part of our brain. When we are deeply calm and present and in control, we decide that's how I responded last time. This scenario does not require that. Now I'm going to act with calm. I'm going to act with grace. I'm going to choose how I want to respond, how my higher self would respond. Because every time we get triggered, we often bring with it all the emotional baggage from every other time that we've responded this way. So it blows it out of proportion. But when we're calm and we're present, we handle this situation for what's in front of us based on this merit alone, not everything else, every other trigger that's led to this point. And so that's another reason to own all your shit, to look at those triggers. Because otherwise that iceberg, that shit you sweep under the rug gets pretty high, gets pretty hard to ignore. When we own those triggers and we start to dismantle them one by one, that pile gets lower and lower and lower. And there'll never be nothing left, right? No one's perfect, but it gets to a much more empowered state where we don't feel governed by our reactivity. or any of these things. And a final piece, a final action item that you can do is, and this will be a short-term win, if you're going into a situation where it is common for you to get triggered, right? Maybe it's your child wakes up in the middle of the night and you're frustrated that they're interrupting your sleep, that they're crying, that you can't settle them down, whatever it is. Or it's when you get home from work, your kids have made a mess and the house is just a chaos, whatever it is. Or maybe when you go into a certain meeting and meeting with a certain person, there's just this clash, there's this tension. Recognize that. Give yourself 5 minutes before that interaction, before you walk in the door at home, before you have this meeting. Hell, if it's at night before you go into your kid's room, stop at the door, breathe, remind yourself that this is an opportunity. Who am I here? What trait am I here to practice? How can I practice that? How can I embody that? Doing that breath work, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Calm, present. And then step into the arena. Because I promise you, getting triggered, getting reactive and frustrated and all the things is not going to help solve the situation. Because I used to be like that. I used to be like that with my son. I was frustrated that I couldn't get him to stop crying. I didn't know what to do and all. How likely is he to settle down and stop crying if I'm angry and frustrated and everything? Not very. Now I'm in a mood, he's in a mood, he's not getting the safety and security and reassurance that he wants from dad. It's fueling the situation. Instead, what does he need from me right now? He needs stability. He needs reassurance. He needs empathy. All the things that I can't do from a stressed out, triggered state, from a reactive state. Things that I can only give him from a full cup, from a present state. So with that, I'm going to leave you a couple of action items. If this has resonated with you, take a moment and think about some of the most common things that trigger you. The most common either labels or things that people say to you, or scenarios or things that happen, and ask yourself, where is it true? Like, where is that label true? Or what have I not owned here? I've been through a couple of different frames here, so it depends on the situation, but I'm sure you've got a brain, so use the one that is most appropriate to that situation. Find the thing that you haven't owned, the one that you've pushed into the shadows that you're reluctant to look at, right? This takes a degree of you're putting your ego to the side and looking in the mirror. That's where a lot of this deeper work comes from. So look at that. Then breathe. And then step into that as an opportunity. Now, I hope that's been helpful. This has been an absolute game changer for my reactivity and my stressed out state, who's someone who used to default to anger and frustration all the time. So if you're in that space, I really hope this helps you as much as it has helped me. It took me years and years, a lot of fucking around and finding out to have this framework, a lot of deep work, a lot of nervous system work, a lot of breath work and all the things. So I hope this helps you in a much shorter time than it took me to learn it. With that said, don't be sorry, be better. Go take action on these things. And I'll see you next time. Bye.